Good morning, Freedom Team. Hope everybody's coming off a great weekend. Thank you as always for showing up here this morning. Excited. We got a wonderful guest on here. Can't wait to get to know her. She got some phenomenal numbers. What she's done in the last 10 years is pretty staggering. But you guys know we do this since we're being recorded. You guys know we do this every day, Monday through Thursday, same Zoom link and same time. Monday, Thursdays, all about attraction. If you're doing attraction, come on Thursday. If you've got any questions, how do you call on a broker, a team leader? What do I say? How do I handle this situation? Whatever it is, one of our other Freedom Team leaders, if you guys haven't been on there, Eric Golden is brilliant at just helping you come up with ideas and different ways to follow up and verbiage and role play and all that kind of stuff. So highly recommend it if you haven't been on there. But also just want to find out who all might be going to EXPCon in Miami. Just out of curiosity, show of hands here. We got Kathy and I. Anybody
I'll be in
else?
Thailand. I won't be able to go. I'm bummed.
Thailand, get your priorities straight, would you?
Yeah, so
Exactly.
for a month, my priorities are straight.
Wow, for a month. Must be good. Rev share must be rocking. All right, guys, let's do this. Let me kick off. Let me share with you guys a little bit of who our guest is this morning. So Miss Simone Rousseau, and you guys let him in there, Kathy, if you wouldn't mind. A little bit about our guest here. She's top five in the number one Remax brokerage worldwide, over 100 homes sold and $1 million in commissions per year in peak years. She's hit Icon twice. On the attraction side, you guys, she's created her dream life with RevShare, moved to the coast, does a lot of traveling and got out of production. She's now the number one female agent attractor in Canada, got over 400 agents on her team. She's been an industry leader and influential source of inspiration for agents throughout North America. Again, two-time Icon Award winner. She's sold real estate for over a decade at a high level with over 100 homes per year in her peak years. Today, Simone works closely with her EXP RevShare group of over 400 agents. Again, the number one female agent attractor in Canada. She's living her dream life, continues to inspire and lead others to a path of freedom. Currently 17 FLQAs, so she's got 6 of the 7 tiers open and 401 agents in her organization. Wow. So Simone, first of all, yes, congrats, man. That is just awesome. Before we kind of dig in and start figure out what all have you done to do this, to build something this big, let's just start off. Tell us a little bit about you, your family. I mean, have you always lived in Canada? And maybe how long you've been in real estate? And just take us up to the point maybe right before you got into EXP.
Sure. Thank you so much. And I just want to say thank you to everyone for showing up. I'm on the Pacific Coast, and I think you guys are mostly on the Eastern Coast. Is that right? Or is all over?
Got a lot of mountain and central.
Oh, good. Perfect. Well, I'm originally from Calgary, Alberta, which is just north of Montana. For my US friends, I am Canadian. I've always been Canadian. And my husband and I, Pablo, he and I sold in Calgary for starting in 2010. And we really just were on that grind. And we were in a financial position in 2010 where it was a do or die as far as selling homes. We had a tremendous amount of debt coming out of '08 and '09. I'm sure some of you might relate. And we were in a real dire position where we owed family a lot of money. And I always say Christmas dinner never quite tastes the same when you owe your father-in-law hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars from a failed business. So that really put the fire under us. So we sold a lot of real estate, got to be over 100 homes a year between Pablo and I and one assistant. And we're just on the grind. And what happened for us was around 2014 was our peak year, 126 homes. And then our market in Alberta changed drastically because oil prices tanked. And what happened for us was mentally, not only did our business go from 1.6 million of gross commissions, and we basically got cut in half in a matter of 6 months. And I mean, we're still over like 800,000, but expenses and trying to keep the machine running. And what the big thing that happened to us was our wheels fell off our business bus again, but also mentally, it just knocked both of us like sideways, like a big sucker punch to the head. And mentally, we were broken. So 2015, 16, and 17, we had these top producers on the outside, we were looking really successful still, but on the inside, we were broken, both of us. And we have 2 young kids at the time. Now they're 20 and 21. And we had aging parents that we were, supporting and taking care of, and things just were not great. And then someone introduced me to EXP. It really just flashed. It was like a text message that said, "Hey, Simone, do you think that if you could attract 6 agents each year and make blank, would this be a conversation you'd be interested in?" And I just thought, are you saying that if I moved brokerages and brought over these 6 agents, I could make, I don't know what the number was at the time. It was a couple $1,000, right? And then I asked the question over text, and this was a good friend of mine. I said, what if I brought 30 agents over? Because I had influence in my market. So what if I brought 30 agents? What would I make then? And he dropped a number on me. And I said, what if I brought 100 agents? What would I make then? And he dropped another number on me. And I'm like, where do I sign up? Like, I am in. So long story short was that was the end of 2018. We joined December 12th, 2018. Pablo and I moved from Remax. Everyone thought we were crazy. In our market, we were agent 41 and 42, and now we're over 1,000 agents in our market. And my whole goal was to get off the real estate treadmill. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I wanted to stop selling real estate. Like, that was the goal. And 3 months into being at EXP, I met Brent. I flew out to Vancouver for an event. And I happened to sit with him at breakfast. This is just how life works. When I saw him over at this table and I walk into this restaurant, I didn't know who he was. He didn't know who I was. I knew who he was. And I walked over and I introduced myself. And he basically just said, sit down with us. There was Brent and Glenn and Debbie was there. And I sat at a table of about 6 or 7 people, and Brent was one of them. He leaned over and he said to me across the breakfast table, he said, "So what do you want?" And I said, I want to be free. I want freedom. And remember, I was broken. Like, I was a hot mess mentally. And I said, I want to be free. I want to pay off my debts. I want to get off the treadmill. And he said, you want to be free? If you listen to everything I say and do what I say, in the next 5 years, you'll be free. And I'm like, okay, like this is my chance, right? So he laid out a 5-year plan for me to go from 125 sales a year and 0 rev share. And he laid out a plan that each year I was going to start to lower my sales and increase my rev share. And the first step was, he said, what's your goal for selling this year? And this was early in 2019. And I said, well, I'm going to do 100 homes because that's just what you do, right? And he said, no, you're going to do 80. I'm like, what? Like, I was Mike Ferry trained. I'm like, 80 homes? No, I go up each year. I don't go down. He says, no, you're going to do 80 homes and you're going to attract 15 agents. And you're going to follow everything I say. I'm like, so I go home, I tell Pablo, my husband, I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to do. He's like, you're crazy. Like, we can't afford to only sell 80 homes. We have to sell 100. And then long story short was, by mid-June, I was reporting to Brent through text message, and Brent says, where are you at? I said, I'm at 37 homes. He goes, okay, your goal is now not 80, your goal is now 50 homes this year. So we dropped my goal from 100 to 80 to 50 that year. And because I had attracted that 15 agents, and he says, now go get another 10 agents in the next 6 months. So that's what I did. I'm like I'm really coachable. So I went out, and then by the end of the year, I had over 100 agents in my organization. And then the following year, I dropped down to 30 as my goal, just to get Icon the second year. And by 21 months later, I was out of production entirely. We burnt the boats, we sold our database, and we've been living now, building rev share and living freedom. So that's my story.
Love it, love it. Simone, first of all, that's incredible. Joel, I see you intensely looking at this thing. There's some of you that are like, oh, wait a second. Oh my gosh, if I could get off this hamster wheel and figure out how to get freedom, man, you just heard it. We're going to dig in deep, but Simone, I wanted to share this with you. I'd been on board, I think, about 6 months, and I joined April 2017. So it was the latter part of 2017. I meet Brent at an event, same thing. Walked up to his table. He had a crowd around him. Worked my way until I could finally talk with him. And me and a few other guys got to sit down with him and have a drink. And he'd only been on board 6 months. I'll never forget. He goes, guys, let me tell you what I was doing yesterday before coming to the event. I had about a 40-minute drive out to a $1.2 million listing. And the whole time I was driving out there, I kept thinking to myself, I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my time. I should be on the phone calling agents. He'd only been on board 6 months. And here's Brent, the number one in the world, was going out for $1.2 million listing saying, man, I'm wasting my time. So interesting. I love that story, how he just took you back, and you just gradually replace it with rev share. So
I'm
now,
going to the YMCA. I'm going to the YMCA.
hold on. There we go. So I'm sure like everybody right now, Simone, we're all like going, okay, wait a sec. How did this all transpire? How did you get it to start replacing? So obviously you pulled back the throttle. So when I say pull back the throttle, you went from the 130 something to 100. Were you starting to spend an hour a day? Kind of what was your day and your week like as you started to build?
Yeah, I was, it was a real purposeful decision to do this. It was like, I knew the mental state I was in, and I feel like I was in a little bit better mental state than my husband. I could see the pain that he was going through. And I knew that when we joined EXP, this was our ticket. And so when I finally felt like I had someone that could guide me on it, and don't get me wrong, Brent and I weren't BFFs. Like I was kind of sneaking into text messages with them. Like I forced this relationship, right? You had to put yourself out there. And I just knew that I'm someone that if I'm put under pressure, I'm really good under pressure. So selling our real estate database was burning the boats. So we basically struck an offer with another team in our market, and we basically handed over our entire database for a one-time payment that would sustain us through about a year and a half or 2 years. And some people say, Simone, do you think you undersold your database? Because it was producing a lot of gross commissions. I would say no. When we sold that database, that gave us our freedom. That gave us the freedom and the fire to put under us to make sure that we actually, I didn't have a choice but to call agents. So for a period of time, while I was decreasing the number of sales, I was working double time. So it would be calling agents 5-6 hours a day, and then trying to maintain this real estate machine that I had. So I worked double time, and Pablo was picking up all the pieces behind the scenes. So he was still trying to, make the real estate thing continue to pay the bills, right? Because we still had to pay the bills. And then finally, just like you, Sean, one day, it was September 2nd of 20, right before COVID, I think it was late 2019, early 2020. And I went into a listing, and it was no disrespect, but it was a crappy listing in a horrible neighborhood. It was super hot out that day in Canada. It was like, I remember I was hot, and I went into this house, and the sellers, they wanted to reduce my commissions. They wanted to list it higher than I wanted, that I had suggested. And I basically walked away from that listing. I went in my car, took a video of myself, and I said, this is the last time I will ever go on a listing appointment.
Wow.
Like I'm used to taking 102 listings a year. And I just said, this is the last time. I will not do this again. I will not leave my family again and my kids to go to a shitty place and take less commissions and have an unsaleable listing. So that was it. I never did. I never went on another listing appointment. So Pablo and I, then eventually we worked double time for about a year. And then after that, we started to earn rev share, and the money was coming in. So then we were able to just sell the database, and that was it.
All right. So let's go back to, I see Kelly nodding her head. We're all going, okay, let's get to the nitty gritty. So that the phone calls, the outgoing phone calls, I'm assuming obviously you started, like you said, you had some influence in your market. You started with your own database of contacts. So let's start off with, because that hadn't been that long ago. We're talking 3.5, 4 years ago. What did those conversations sound like? You've now kind of burned the boats mentally, and you're making outbound calls. You have to make it work. What did these calls sound like? If you don't mind, we can go deep if you want to, but picking up the phone, making outbound calls, what were you saying?
Well, once Brent guided me for the first year, I knew I'm Mike Ferry trained. I'm a Mike Ferry trained real estate agent. Outbound prospecting, it was my thing, even though I hate it. And I get nervous every time I dial the phone and my fingers shake, and it's just not my favorite thing to do, but I knew it produced my business. So I knew I had to go back to that. And always having a coach in real estate, I knew I needed a coach for agent attraction. So what I did was I messaged Brent and I said, Brent, I need a coach. I need a real estate coach. And he said, let me connect you with Coach Casey. So Coach Casey Council Jiha, he put me in connection with her, didn't know her. I sent her a message and I said, I'm looking for a real estate coach. And Brent said, you're the one. And how much would it cost me to coach with you? So I ended up coaching with Casey for about 6 to 9 months, and she taught me a 4-step process for agent attraction. And that was basically all based on having conversations. And there's 4 steps that she taught me. I ended up refining some of that because I knew that I needed to teach that to my organization. And it basically went like this. It was step 1 was a 1-minute a connection call where you would, or it's an initial phone call where you would initially make that reach out, and you would be trying to book them to a step 2, which is a connection conversation. That would be a 10-minute phone call. Okay, so the first call is a 1 minute. The second is a step 2, which is a 10-minute conversation. That's when you're going to learn about them, their life, their business, their goals, their dreams. And then step 3 was an exposure, and that was done over Zoom. That was a 45-minute Zoom appointment. And then step 4 was a third-party validation, and that was over Zoom. So I started to work this 4-step process. Again, I'm very coachable. If someone says do 4 steps, I don't do 5, I do 4. I don't do 3, I do 4, right? So I locked into this 4-step process. And any people that have been trained by Mike Ferry, there's a 5-step listing process that he teaches. That's what I used. And this 4-step agent attraction process, I locked into it, and I coached that. I now do agent attraction coaching for people that want one-on-one, but I also taught this to my organization. And because, you get as a leader, you get these like, how did you do it, Simone? Teach me, how did you do it? Well, I created this 4-step process for them as well. And that's what I used.
And I'm thinking the same thing as Kelly put in the chat. So if we can go a little deeper. So the 1 minute, like we're all curious, what was the 1 minute?
Yeah, the 1 minute was you have your list of say 1,000 agents. I'm telling you, if you have a list of 2,000 agents, any 2,000 agents in North America, you can have freedom. The problem is you just need to run this 4-step process or whatever process you're using, but you need to contact these 2,000 agents. Okay. So the 1 minute is the initial reach out. And it would be something like, hey, Sean, it's Simone Rousseau. I don't know if you remember me, but in 2015, we did a deal on 123 Home Street. And I have something that I'm working on, and I wanted to run it by you. I don't have time right now, but is there any chance I can jump on a 10-minute call with you maybe tomorrow at 10:30 or 11? And I just would really love your opinion. So it's not quite that, but very similar. And so what I've done there is basically I've told him about our deal. So there's some kind of a connection. And then I'm working to get Sean booked to a step 2, which is the connection conversation. Gotcha. So that's step 2. And that connection is the step 2 is the most important part of this whole thing. Once you get someone from a step 2 to a step 3, you're rolling. Things will start happening. So it's a little bit, I mean, there's a lot, but it's pretty simple. So that's the 4 steps.
So step 2, because step 1 sounded great. We've got it recorded, Simone. And I didn't ask you if you want when you're done. I can send you the recording if you want to splice it up or something for social media.
Thank you.
Let's go a little deeper. So the second call, that 10-minute call, is this still you solo making that 10-minute call?
It is. Yeah. And when I did this 4 steps, like I thought about this, and I say this to agents all the time. If you have an option here, you have the ability to create a multi-million-dollar business in agent attraction, right? This could be worth millions for your family. So how much time are you willing to call, I don't know, 50 dials a day? Are you willing to do 20 dials a day to have $1 million reoccurring business? Right? So that's the first step, is to make a decision. And so what I did was I did all the calls. I did all the step ones. I did all the step twos. I did all the step threes. I did all the step fours. I also had a virtual assistant, though, that helped me schedule and reschedule and rebook all these things as they were happening. So we can talk about that as well. Eventually, though, you can build in leverage, and you can have a very, very well-trained VA. Very well-trained VA can be making the step one calls for you and booking call twos. So you can jump in on the call two level.
Okay. And let's give me some detail, if you wouldn't mind, on the step two. So you're giving me a call back. You and I set the appointment. You're calling me for step two.
Yeah. So step two is I call it the connection conversation. Okay. So step one is the initial conversation. Step two is the connection conversation. It's really simple. It's almost like what you asked me, Sean, at the beginning of this Zoom. You said, so tell me a little bit about, hey, Sean, thanks for taking 10 minutes, right? Thanks for taking this 10 minutes today. We don't have a lot of time, but I'd love to hear, you and I know each other from that deal in 123 Home Street. I don't know if you remember it, but I always remember how professional you were. And I just want to thank you for showing up on this call, but number two, just for being such a pro in our industry. We don't always have that. So thank you. And what I did there was, I've told him how long we're going to be on the call. Like, there's a structure to the entire call, you guys. How long I'm going to be on the call. Oh, thanks for coming. It's only going to be 10 minutes. It's not going to be 11 minutes. It's going to be less than 10 minutes. Not going to be 12. It's going to be 10. So this is how you stay on schedule. I used to book 8, 9, 10 step two calls in a day, and I would run them back to back every 15 minutes. So I can't be on the phone for 12 minutes, because if I have to use the washroom or get a drink of water, I need 5 minutes in between each call. I got to take notes, right? So what I did was I set the time, right? I gave him a authentic compliment, right? Okay, I brought us together through an authentic compliment, his professionalism. And then I say something like, I'm working on something about real estate, but before I get into that, I'd love to hear just a little bit about what you've been up to. Tell me about your business right now. What are you working on? What's most important for you this year? How do you find the market? Whatever the conversation is going to be, that's the connection piece. This is what happens when you ask that. He will just start talking.
Yeah.
I mean, they've shown up out of their own free will. They just start talking about themselves. And your job is to listen. And you listen to them and you take notes, right, as they're going. And then guess what's going to happen? Usually at around 7 or 8 minutes, you're going to be like, wow, maybe he says something like, yeah, I'm really having a hard time with the market. Maybe he says something like that, right? Because you're going to pull out the positive things, you're going to pull out the pain. And he's going to say something like, oh, yeah, the market's been really tough. Yeah, I know the market was really tough. I had that happen to me back in 2018. And I ended up, I know you probably heard of EXP. I ended up moving over to EXP, and it has actually dramatically changed my life. And we don't have time to get into it because I have to run off to another appointment, and I know you're busy, but I'd love to just share with you some of this. He might say something like, well, I've already heard about EXP. And I say, well, why don't we do this? If I can have 45 minutes of your time over Zoom, I just love to connect with you on that. And maybe there's something that you can gain, or maybe you'll pour into me and we can see where this ends up. Would it be worth 45 minutes just to go through, and I can show you what I did to get out of that mental state or out of that tough market, right? And someone will say yes, someone will say no.
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you mind me asking, do you remember sort of a ratio, or did you track it? Like for every 5 you talked to on that 10-minute call, did you schedule 2 Zooms, or what was that number, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I don't have my stats. That's another thing, is to track your numbers. If you're, again, Mike Ferry trained, you track your numbers. But usually out of 10 dials, initial dials, you should be able to book 3 step 2s.
Okay.
3 to 4, okay, would be, you're going to get a lot of no's, right? 3 to 4. Out of your initial conversations, your step 1s, usually you should be able to get 2 of them that are going to move over to a step 2. And then I would say from a step 2, people that would actually move to a step 3, which is the exposure. That's where you're going to share the video with them. That's where you're going to explain EXP, get into all of the details. I would say it would usually be 1 out of 4. So you'd have to book 4 step 2s to get 1 moving over to a step 3. Okay. Once you get people to a step 3, again, this takes skill and practice and role play. Eventually you can get them to the step 4, which is an exposure, or even better, you just close them on the step 3 and you get them signing the join. Okay. So you don't necessarily need to get them to the step 4.
And what's the run rate on that one?
Oh, go ahead, Kelly.
Yeah, what's the run rate on that one? You had good stats for each step. For all the people that you've shown EXP to, roughly how many of them elect to join?
I would say it's about 30%. But there's a whole bunch of people in follow-up, right? Now, this is where you start to go crazy if you're analytical. I'm not, but my analytical friends are this, you might go crazy. You need a really strong follow-up system. So what does that look like? And, again, when do you stop following up with people? How do you follow up? So you need a good follow-up system to make sure that your follow-ups are being populated. I'm not as good. I like kind of the new ones because either they want it or they don't. And so I don't hang on too long as far as follow-up.
Yeah.
What
do you do any follow? Go ahead, Kelly.
Yeah, what do you do? Because I've got 2,000 in that follow-up category. It's just nuts.
Yeah.
When do you just let go and chase new instead of chase old?
Yeah, what I would do is I'd go back and I would be putting those people on a call list again. And again, you could be doing this, or you could have a VA be doing this and just say, hey, if it's a VA, for example, I have one VA, she's my life. Her name is Karen. I love her to pieces. She and I are, she's done a lot for me, but I'd have either you or your VA call them and just say, hey, you spoke to Kelly in January. It was January 10th, and you spoke and you saw the model. And Kelly wanted me to reach out to you and first of all, check in with you, see how you're doing, but also, are you still considering coming over to EXP? And I would just be laying it right on the line, like, no wishy-washy, or you call them, right? It's better if you call them, but you have to block out the time to be able to call them.
Other than that, what do you do on your follow-up? Do you have a drip system or anything like that?
Nope. Listen, this is what I think. And I know there's all these other fancy, if you look for me on social media, I probably haven't been on there in a year and a half or 2 years. I don't have a drip system. Again, I'm old school. Maybe some of you can relate to this, right? So I just figure that I need 50 frontline agents, FLQAs, and the rest is history. My life is taken care of. I don't need 1,000, because those 50, if I have that and I pour into those people, it just happens. So right now I'm only at 17 FLQAs, and I'm living a life that I can't even dream of. And I'm a bit of a minimalist, so I don't have a big fancy life. And I learned that in 2009, and I learned it again in 2014 to make sure that you're living within your means. But I have an incredible life. So that's my theory on follow-up.
This is great. If heads are twirling right now and you're just wondering anything at all, let's start asking some questions specifically for you guys. What do you each one of you need? We've got a pro on here. She's bought her life back in 4.5 years. Complete freedom questions, you guys.
Don, there are a bunch in the chat. Why don't you go back and pull them?
I had a question.
Yeah. Yeah.
So obviously when you have kind of a warmer lead, an agent you've worked with before, that's your line in. But let's say that you're calling absolutely a cold lead. How would that first minute call sound or differ from that warmer lead?
Yeah. And most of my agents I attracted were people that I didn't know. Most of the agents that I knew and knew me, they thought I was crazy. They at that time they hadn't heard it. They thought it was just a discount brokerage and you're crazy. So most of my attraction happened with people I didn't know. What would it look like? I would first of all just do quick little Google search on them, and I'd say something like, "Hi, Mike, it's Simone Rousseau calling. We're in the same market. I'm not sure if you know me. I'm working on a project that has to do with real estate agents, top producers like yourself. And I see your signs everywhere. So I'm thinking you might be a top producer. Now, I don't have time right now, but I'm wondering, is there any chance that you would be willing to jump on a 10-minute conversation with me? I have something I want to share, but I just want to hear your opinion of what I'm working on and see if it might apply to you."
Okay.
When would be a good time?
The next follow-up with that is because obviously nobody wants to waste their time and they say, well, hey, can you give me a little snippet of, what you don't have time for right now, just so I can kind of start rolling it? I mean, do you give them anything?
Yeah, Mike, you know what? The reason I called you, I just was driving by your billboard, honestly. I'm like, and I pulled your number off that billboard, and I'm actually running right into an appointment. How about this? Why don't I call you tomorrow at 10:30? It would only take 10 minutes. Would 10:30 work, or is 11 better?
Okay. I like that.
Awesome.
Okay. So I'm just, no, and I don't email stuff out to people, and no, I don't. It's just, and if he keeps resisting, I move on.
So don't
Okay.
give in on that first call. Okay. Got a few other questions. I know Trish, you got your hand up. Go ahead and jump on.
Well, hi, Simone. First of all, it's so great to see you, and thank you for being here and sharing. This is really powerful. I'm a big fan. We were setting a lot of calls, like the first, the initial call, and getting a lot of no-shows. So do you get that, or is there something that we could be doing to not have no-shows?
Yeah. So what I did was and I'm sure you use Calendly as well, right? I maxed out on my Calendly reminders. I made sure that the reschedule option is there. I almost encourage them to reschedule or cancel if they couldn't make it, like in the language you use in your reminders. And Sean did this for me with this call, and I was mentioning this to him. He gave me reminders for me to show up here. And he was looking for my response. So I would never set an appointment and not have a reconfirmation that they were going to be showing up. And it became pretty rare that I would say like 8 or 9 out of 10 would show up, even between steps 1 and 2 and 2 and 3, because of the heightened amount of reminders. So that has to be set up in your system with whether it's Calendly or you're working with your VA to make sure you're getting a response that they're actually showing up.
Okay, thank you. I have no idea what that looks like, maxing out on Calendly, but I'm going for it.
Yeah, you have options of, do you want a 24-hour before? Do you want a 1 hour before? Do you want 48 hours before? And they send out automatic reminders.
Yep.
Yeah,
thank
just
you.
go to that Calendly.com. You'll see on the left, you can continue to drop it down as many times as you want. You can have 5 follow-up, 4, 3, 3 days before, 1 day before, 8 hours before, 30 minutes before. And that's what I've kind of set up, is because the same thing was happening to me. People not showing up. Since changing my Calendly, Trish, it's bumped it up another, I don't know, 10, 20% show up. By just dripping. Yeah, and a lot of times I'll have people respond back, like when I do the day in advance. Then I'll have them reach out and go, I am so sorry. I'm glad you followed up. I've now got a showing tomorrow, and they'll try to reschedule with me. So it's definitely helped by pinpointing that. A couple other questions over here. What are you using right now to track? Do you use CRM Grow, or how are you tracking your database?
Okay, here's I have to be real, I can't lie. So for the past year, I've been living my life. And for the last year, I've been kind of on some coast and cruise control. But what I have been working on behind the scenes is I've been using Go High Level for, I don't use CRM Grow. I don't send the video out ahead of time. I used to use CRM Grow. I used to use Pipe Drive, which is another CRM, but I'm going to be using Go High Level. And I have my whole 4-step process is built into that. I'm working, I coached Mike Wiseman. I don't know if anybody knows Mike Wiseman, but he's got a system that he's built in Go High Level based on the 4-step process. He's an EXP agent. If you want to reach out to him and connect with him on Go High Level with the 4-step process, he's built it out based on what I coached him on. So that's what I'll be using. I think that answers the question.
You said Mike Weiss, W-E-I-S-S?
W-E-I-S-M-A-N, Wiseman.
Wiseman. Okay.
Mike
And
or Michael in EXP.
Okay. It might be Michael Wiseman.
Yep.
It is
Yep.
Michael. Mhm.
Perfect.
Super smart guy.
What do you do for your actual presentation? Do you click play on a video or do you do your own PowerPoint?
Yep. I do what Brent taught me. I press play. So with his video, you may need to book your I had a Canadian version of his video. So ours was only a 45-minute exposure, the step 3. My US friends, it might need to be an hour that you're going to book. And I never book for an hour. I book an appointment for 55 minutes. Or I book an appointment for 10 minutes, right? I don't book a 30-minute appointment for anything. I always leave myself 5 minutes on the end. So yes, I press play. Do they know what's going to happen? Yes, because in the step 2 at the end of, I say, we're going to jump on in my case, 45-minute Zoom appointment. And what I'm going to be doing, make sure you're on a laptop or desktop, not your phone. Because we're going to be watching a video together and then I want to just talk to you about it after. So yeah, I press play, I sit there, I learned how to use Zoom and share my screen and all those great things. And I just sat there and watched the video with them. It was awkward at first, but as people, I could see them, I'd sit there and I'd drink my water. And I'd stare into the camera so it looked like I was paying attention. I'd watch that video like 180 times probably.
And then how do you recap with them once they've watched the video and you've watched it with them? Did you leave yourself time to say, what did you like best? Or what do you do then?
Yeah. So again, depending which video you're going to use, and it doesn't matter, again, my analytical friends, don't get stuck. Doesn't matter what video you show them. They're not actually going to take in a lot of the information. It's the connection conversation. And then what you ask after the video is over, you hit stop on the video or it ends. You unshare your screen and you say, so what did you like best? And you sit there and you smile and you zip it and you let them answer. Okay. And they're going to tell you right there what they liked best. They're not going to say I didn't like anything. They're going to say, well, that stock thing, that was interesting. And then guess what? The rest of that conversation, I just focus on stock. I don't talk about EXP World. I don't talk about this. I don't talk about RevShare. I talk about stock. And I say, if we could get you stock and building your stock account, do you think that this would be worth it? Do you want to sign up? You want to come to EXP? Like, ask them, right? And no, I need more time. I know. Oh, you know what? The best person that could talk to you about the stock program is my mentor. If I could get my mentor on a quick Zoom call, maybe 20 minutes, would that be something you'd be interested? It doesn't quite go that fast, right? There's a little bit more to it, but would that be worth 20 minutes of your time to talk to my mentor who's an expert in stock? Yeah, I'd do that. Okay, great. Is Tuesday or Thursday better for you? 1 or 2? Oh, okay, I'll take 2. Can you do 2:30? No, I have 2 o'clock. This is another thing, is I always put people into my schedule. I don't expand my schedule for people. I do Zoom calls between noon and 2, for example. Can you do 2:30? No, I can't, but I can do Wednesday at 1:30, right? So I'm not running around like a chicken anymore. People, I have blocks of time and I put people in where they fit into my schedule.
You know what? I love this. I'm looking at all the different faces watching, and I don't know how many people are making calls and people that aren't. And I can tell you what, when I'm not making calls and I know I need to, it weighs on me heavy. I mean, it's crazy. Then if you just start making the darn calls, guys, everything she's doing is a lot of the same stuff that we've all been teaching. You guys have heard this over and over. I can't say anything more than block out that darn time. If it's going to be 30 minutes a day, and just discipline yourself to make the calls. Everything will just start to happen. Like Eric always says, between now and freedom, you'll come across everything. You're going to get you may have to make 30 calls to get that one call that the moment you called them, they're like, that is so crazy that you just called. I was just thinking about that. I had another person leave our brokerage and just went to EXP. I have to admit, I've kind of looked at stuff. Maybe I've missed something, but it's going to happen. But you got to make those series of calls. Sorry to interject. I just keep thinking about it. Just comes down to doing the process. If you guys keep coming back here every Monday, please start taking action, or it's just going to keep weighing you down. You're going to get frustrated with it. If you got questions, come to Thursday or reach out to me. Okay. So back over to Simone. I love this, Simone. You're real direct. I love your straightforwardness, your 4-step. Nothing is incredibly magical, right? She just did the process. Now, let me take you to where you are today, if you don't mind me asking. You're comfortable, been there many, many times. So obviously you're not hitting it like you were, but what does your schedule look like today? This is maybe for those of us, if you think, I've got a few of them in here that got some pretty big groups, Kathy, Tim, so forth. What are you doing today to continue to push yourself? Are you creating a new why? You're setting a new goal? What are you doing?
Yeah, I got really complacent. And in the last 2 years, we moved from Calgary, Alberta, just outside Vancouver. So we moved west. Last week, we just moved from one condo into another condo. I've got like 180 degree. I'm looking outside my window. I've got ocean 180 degrees in Canada. It's pretty good. But what I'm doing now is I've actually recommitted, and starting in September, I'm taking August off, but starting in September, I'm hitting the phones again.
Love it.
So for me, because what I've seen, I'm very fortunate that over the last year and a half of becoming more complacent. And here's what else has happened in the last year and a half. I've spent so much great time with my kids, our kids, they're Pablo's too. My mom, my sister, my family. I've taken up tennis. I've actually become like this, old lady tennis player, which is super fun. And my health has improved. I feel like a whole new woman in the last year and a half. So the beauty of this, my RevShare group has maintained, which is amazing. I can't believe it, but I'm ready. Like, I feel like I went really hard when I came to EXP for 3 years. Again, my head was down and I cranked hard. So I'm ready to do that again. I'm a little bit of a light switch. I'm either on or off. And so I've been off, and now I'm going to be clicking. And what am I going to do? The 4-step process. I'm going to get on the phones and call.
And what is your why, Simone, today that's driving that commitment?
Yeah, I know Gene always talks about it. He talks about legacy, right? And for me, it's about, I feel really free. I mean, I don't know how much more free I could feel, but I feel really light. But now it's about really giving that to someone else, giving that to legacy for my family, legacy for EXP agents. There's so much pain, right, amongst the agent community. And this is the one thing that we can actually do. If we can sell homes, this is a no-brainer. It's that balancing act of getting out of production, not that you have to totally, and actually I'm thinking of, I live in a market now, the average sale price is 1.5 million. You know what? I might go sell 8 homes. Like, because I've got friends, oh, you know, I have a home to sell. I'm like, well, I don't sell homes. Well, maybe I might sell, like, I'm not really doing much else other than hitting the tennis ball. So between making calls and selling a couple homes a year, just to keep my head in the game, that's the plan.
But let me ask a question, which I'm assuming this has got to be some of you guys thinking this. I'm going to ask it. If somebody's on here selling 20 homes a year and they're hearing you were at 100 something and you backed off to 80 and so forth, what would be your suggestion if you were coaching someone that's making about 100 grand selling houses? They're like, okay, I've been doing this 10, 12 years. I'm kind of getting burnt out. How do I get off the treadmill? What would sort of be your ratio? What would that day look like for you if you were stepping into that, since you've done it from a higher level?
Yeah, the first thing I would tell anyone is to cut your expenses. And my husband and I, we it was 2.5 years ago, or almost 3 years ago, we sold every single possession that we had. And this is another story for another time, but we basically decided to take ourselves down to zero. And we sold every lamp, every spoon, every pot holder, every rug. We sold everything except for a large suitcase and a carry-on each. And we went traveling for 9 months. This is once we got out of production. And we sold our houses, our cars, his toy cars, all the things. And we got ourselves down to zero and created a clean slate. So my first advice would be, get rid of all the clutter in your life. And if you really want to recreate yourself, get rid of all the stuff that's holding you back. That might be a financial burden. Maybe you need a smaller house, and that's fine. Maybe you need to go rent for a while. That's totally fine, right? And get your expenses in order so you don't have to sell 20 homes. Maybe that will allow you only to sell 16 homes. And with that extra time, I would say plan to work double time, just for 1 year, right? And explain this to your family. Make sure you get their buy-in, and just put, you know, pedal to the metal and start grinding for only 1 year, and your life will change. So I would start with all your possessions. I'm a big fan of getting light. Pablo and I we went to Puerto Rico. We lived there for about 5 months, hung out with Jean and Brent and Sheila and all the gang. And that was, again, we put ourselves in a position where we wanted to learn and grow, and we didn't have any possessions. And then we ended up rebuilding our life where we wanted to. We looked at a map of Canada and we said, where in Canada should Simone and Pablo live when we came back from Puerto Rico? And we relocated our whole lives. And then we had to rebuy the lamp and the forks and the, you know, and then we only bought what we needed. Everything else was gone.
Love it.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, my internet's been messing up and popping in and out. Two things. One is I didn't hear what step 4 was, and the other thing is you shared that you pour into your people. You don't have to do the production now. Well, what does pouring into your people look like?
So the step 4 is the third-party validation. So that's another Zoom call. It's booked for only 25 minutes. It's a 25-minute booking over Zoom, and you're going to get one of your senior partners or any other agent at EXP to come on and be the third-party validator. Okay, and then the
Thank you.
pouring into my agents means anything and everything they possibly need. They have me on speed dial, hopefully, and it's amazing how little people use you. It blows my mind. I'm there to help them with production. I know how to take 102 listings in a year. I mean, I would think that agents would want to maybe have a conversation with me, right? But so I make myself 100% available to my agents and pour into them. Now, the last year I've been a little guilty of going sideways, but they're okay. They're all adults, but I'm just there for them to be able to. What I feel like I haven't done is I don't make them reliant on me. right? Just like my children are not reliant on me. I've got independent, strong, respectful daughters who are not reliant on their mom and their dad, right? So your agents, they need your phone number. And then you reach out to them from time to time and check in, but that's what I do.
If I were to elaborate on that, Melvin, and maybe this mindset comes from Simone. I did some direct sales back in the day, but you put enough people, and I always say the cream's going to rise to the top. Let them know everything that's available. You're there to help them and all that. Call me anytime. And you're so right. Very few take advantage of it, or they do for a month or so, don't get the results because they want it quickly, and they just go right back to production. So, guy, this like I'm beating a dead horse, but it comes down to, if you do what Simone said, you put your head down for a year. I don't care if it's 30 minutes a day, but if you did it every single day for a year, you're going to have people on your team, period. You're going to go through the learning curve, jump on Thursday. We'll do some Q&A. This is all about taking action. Simone's just laying out what she did, and look at the life she's had for 2 years now. Sounds like basically enjoying life with family, traveling, and it's unreal what this can do for you guys' life. This isn't about me, but you guys know I moved here 1 year ago to Colorado. I could have never done it if it wasn't for RevShare. I'm up here enjoying life, my mom, traveling, all that kind of stuff. So it is crazy what this will do for you. Get hungry. Decide right now, you guys, 1 year from today, life's going to start to look different. You're going to go throw 10, 12 people into this thing. Why? Because you're going to make calls every single day consistently. So back to Simone. We got about 7 or 8 minutes, guys. This has been great. At least I've gathered a lot of just going back to what she did. But what I'm loving about listening to this, took her 3 years to get her entire life of complete freedom. 3 years. What were you doing 3 years ago? Some of you might have been on this Zoom and you're still talking about doing RevShare. Something has got to change. You're the person. You figure out whatever's going to motivate and inspire you. Get yourself an accountability partner, something. I saw what you put in there. Was that Trish that just put that in about if you guys want to make calls together? 1 hour a day, we can jump on. You can listen to some people, make some calls and so forth. But let's wrap up here with Simone. 1 or 2 more questions. Simone, you've been awesome, dear. Sincerely appreciate you pouring into us. Guys, she's obviously got a lot of information up that head of hers, and she's had success doing it. I love how you're about to get back into the grind, because I kind of did the same thing. I started about really 2 weeks ago. Same thing, and now I'm back into that rhythm, and I'm loving it. It's more about your life's been changed. How many other lives can you change? You know it can happen if somebody's willing to take action. That makes it sometimes easier to pick up the phone, truly knowing you could bless that agent if they'll take action and plug in. A couple more questions for Simone before we got to jump. Anybody else?
Kate.
Okay, thank you, Simone. Question number 1 is, when do you say, "Hi, I'm Simone with eXp Realty"? Is that right away?
Yeah, usually in the initial conversation. If I don't know you and it's a pure cold call, I'll say something like, "Hi, this is Simone Rousseau. I'm an agent in your market." At some point in that, at 1 minute, I'm going to say eXp.
Okay.
It might not just be bam right off the first thing out of my mouth, but yeah, I want Samantha.
Go ahead.
I'm not into being a secret agent, and I'm not scared that they're going to get all pissed off and whatever. Like, I'm Simone Rousseau, but I usually don't say I'm Simone Rousseau from eXp Realty, because sometimes that'll block them right away. I'm Simone, an agent in your market, and I was just driving by your bus bench. Use that one. I actually was in my car once, and I was behind a bus, and I dialed the number, and I'm like, "Hi, Rummy, it's Simone Rousseau. I am literally looking at you on this bag of a bus right now. Congratulations for scoring that bus." And do you think she was open to listening, right?
Absolutely. I love it.
Totally.
Go ahead, Joel.
And then my second question was, you mentioned not sending them the video.
Yep.
You mentioned not sending them the video, and I've been told both ways.
Yeah. My experience is you play catch the agent. You have to go, you play this crazy game of trying to find them and get them back on track. The moment you send them the video, you need to be with them, in my opinion, the moment the video stops playing. because they're going to get in their own heads. I mean, they're just like we are, right? They're going to figure out reasons why not. They're going to get distracted. Their kids are going to be yelling. They're going to have a seller call. So I want to be on the Zoom with them the moment the video ends. And I say, so what did you like best? And they see me and the pause is there and it's awkward. And then they say something.
Did you ever do the 10-minute video so that you have more time to talk?
No. And honestly, it's amazing how little you have to, again, you should be talking 10% of the time, and it should either be anything leaving your mouth should be a question or a compliment of some sort. They should be speaking 90% of the time. Like, we need to stop talking when we're talking to agents.
Agree. Go ahead, Joel. You're muted, brother. Joel, you're muted.
Oh.
Hey, Simone, when you made your decision, from the time I know that you mentioned you got a coach and all that, but basically from the time you made your decision, started making your calls a year later, what was your production at that point in regards to how many agents you had attracted at that point in your group, I guess?
Yeah. I think after 13 months, I had 100 agents in my organization, and my front line would have been around 12.
Okay, that's what I thought I heard.
And that was FLAs. Okay. So I mean, it wasn't crazy. It was one a month, you know?
Okay.
One a month's a pretty good pace. And people are going to come and go. And I remember the first agent that ever left my organization, I was like, oh my God, the sky is falling. Now it's like, oh, too bad for them. I feel really bad for them, right? Empathy.
Yeah. Love it.
Kelly.
Yeah, you said you coach people. Can you give me some meat around your coaching around agent attraction?
I do really quick. I do very select one-on-one coaching. So it's almost like you interview me, I interview you kind of thing. And what it is it's 25 minutes. It's a phone call 4 times a month. And the cost of it is $12.95 per month. It's one-on-one. You get full access to me for anything outside of that, like through text and all that. And then I teach you the 4-step process. When I had a Mike Ferry coach, it's based around that kind of a program. When I had a Mike Ferry coach for the 8 or 9 years, I will attribute 75% of my success to having that accountability. So it's high level accountability. I will call you out if you're not doing your work, or I'll just cancel the contract. I'm not interested in coaching people that aren't doing the work. Okay. I'll get into maybe a little bit of your personal life to see if there's something there that needs to get cleaned up in order to make sure you have a clearing to be successful in agent attraction. So if that's of interest, you can reach out to me through work chat. But yeah, that's it.
We've heard that before on that coaching, right? And not willing to coach somebody who's not willing to do what they say they're going to do. Let me add one other thing before we jump off, whether this works for you guys or not, but whenever I'm scheduling on a Zoom right now, I'll usually wrap, as soon as I get the Zoom set for that time, I'll say, hey, listen, why don't I do this, Simone? With that Zoom, I'm going to send over a 15-minute high overview video. And I promise you're going to see something you've never seen before in this video. We just did it a few months ago. It's great. But regardless, if you don't get the chance to watch it, you and I can go through it together and we jump on. But regardless, if you do watch it, you and I can jump into Q&A, but more importantly, I'm going to start to personalize the model for you, break down the numbers and show you how we can go over 100% commission. So I'm going to say something that's going to keep their curiosity to go, what? He's going to personalize it, because half the time you make those calls, a lot of people have seen the XP. But when you say the words and people start saying, what do you mean by personalized? You can talk it out loud. You eventually kind of know some stock stories. You can play with the rev share. You can share some stories. That's really all it is. And then taking their numbers and giving them an idea. Had you been here a few years ago, this is what it might look like today. And we can talk about some of that stuff offline. But I have been sending the video, but I never send the video until I've set the Zoom, and I'll send it with the Zoom and I see whether they've watched it. I'm sending it from CRM Grow. And if not, no big deal. We get on and we watch it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good way to pre-qualify people too. And I mean, if they're not going to show up to your scheduled Zoom, they're just not going to show up. right? So don't get in a dither of the people that say no, work on the ones that are going to say yes. The last thing I'll say, or one of the last things, is you really need to know what's important to the agent. And you've heard this, this is just like sellers. You need to know the motivation of the seller in order to price the property right, in order to get it sold. If you don't know their motivation, you're going to get the price wrong, because highly motivated people will price their property to sell. And they'll do price reductions when you recommend them, and they'll follow your lead. You need to understand the motivation of the agent. And someone like me, for example, I am such a driver personality. If you figure out what's important to me, and for example, now it's family and creating a life that people love. Not, I've got the life I love, but it's for others. If you click into that, I'm going to listen to anything you have to sell me. Like, and I will buy, and I'll buy fast. So you have to really understand the personality style of the people that you're talking to. If you start talking numbers to me, I'm out. I will gloss over instantly. Okay. And then for my expressive friends, right? If you want to talk about the parties you can throw for people, and if you had rev share and you could travel and all the clothes you could buy or whatever it is for expressives, you got to understand the people you're talking to.
Love it. You guys, I just put in the chat, this was from last week, but use some of that on some phone calls, and it helped a lot. Getting to that dialogue, asking questions. I love, this was from the gentleman that spoke to us last week. Did you hit your goals over the last year? Why haven't you hit your goals? What could you have done differently to hit your goals? Who is going to help you hit those goals? Very interesting. Obviously not saying that immediately, but as the conversations flow and you keep digging, it's very interesting how no one's hitting their goals, right? And what do they need to? And you guys, we got the 7 tips to lead generate. That right there is helping set appointments like crazy when you start telling the stories behind our 7 tips or strategies to lead generate. So for those of you, again, interested in this rev share and you want to go deeper, jump on Thursday. Jump on with Eric. Here's some stuff he's doing. Come with some questions. And Simone, man, we want to say thank you. You, I love your, there's something about you. You just got this relaxed intensity. It's an interesting 2 words that I can tell there's a drive in there, and I can't wait to see what you do and come out in September again. I'm sure you're going to go rock it. We'll stay tuned to see Simone's results. Would you like me to send you over this recording?
Yes, and I would just put it out there like I do all the time. Anyone that needs anything. I mean, I don't need to coach you. We're all here together. Just reach out to me. Work chat's always the best way to reach me. If you need anything in your life, I'm here. So yes, and I'd love a copy of the recording.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Simone, thank you. You're an incredible inspiration. Congrats for you and your husband and your family. And again, get back after in September and let's go change a lot of lives. All right.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Pedal to the metal.
Guys,
Thank
appreciate
you,
everybody
Simone.
jumping on. Be here for tomorrow. We're doing something with listings again. Anybody got the title there? Tim, Kathy, what's tomorrow's training? Something with listings.
Something with listings is good. We all, right?
And remember, you can always reach out to Simone to go, if you want to know how you do 100+ listings, this is the lady right here.
Exactly.
Guys, thank you.
Hang on 2 seconds. Hang on 2 seconds. I have it. It's unlocking. It's actually open houses. It's unlocking the power of open houses with Smita. So yes. So if you want to know how to maximize your open houses, don't miss tomorrow. Same time, same link, y'all.
You got it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Simone.
Thank you so much. I'll send that over later this afternoon, Simone. Everybody have a blessed day. Let us know if we can help you. Thank you, guys.
Much love.
Thanks,
Bye,
Simone.
guys.
Appreciate
Bye-bye.
you.